Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's On Deck's 5 questions. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes here just to make sure that people can sign on and watch us live. Really excited to be here, especially on International Women's Day, to get some answers for issues women business owners often ask about. I want to thank today's guest for being here. Anjali Varma is a fantastic business coach and marketing expert who specializes in working with women business owners to grow their brand and their business. Anjali, you want to say a few words?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really psyched to do this. I'm a huge fan of Facebook Live and interacting with women business owners to answer their questions on growing and marketing their business. So excited to talk about that today.
Great. So as some people log on, I just want to take a minute to talk to all the people who have watched all of On Deck's videos over the last, I don't know, probably year plus. And I just think it's an interesting note today to just let you know it's fun for me on International Women's Day. Today's actually my last day in the office before I go out on maternity leave. So I think it's just a really nice way to take before I go out and take a break and celebrate women and be able to help women business owners get further ahead. It's one of my greatest passions in life is helping business owners and specifically women, and also just with On Deck specifically, like being able to be lucky enough to work for a company that supports women and everything that they do. So those of you who actually watch our videos frequently probably know Ty and Jen, and they'll be carrying the torch for the next few months while I hang out with baby.
So exciting.
But I'm really excited to take this break, and I'm really excited to come back in a few months and get to talk with you all again soon. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So one of the big things I notice with women is there's a really big gap in the business world where women struggle to position themselves as experts. Anjali, what advice do you have for women business owners to start their journey becoming a thought leader in their industry?
Yeah, I love this question because probably my number one favorite thing to work on with clients and to talk about is personal branding. And I think regardless of whether you're a business owner or you're working, as a professional in the corporate world or a nonprofit, everybody has an opportunity to position themselves as some sort of expert. So I think the big things are really thinking about the industry that you're in, and first of all, really having a good handle on what it is that expertise is that you want to showcase to the world. It can be a natural tangent to kind of what your business and or industry is, or it can kind of go off a little bit and have a little bit more character and be in line with not only what you do, but also some of your favorite hobbies, some of the some of your interests as well. So I think thinking about solidifying what that expertise is and then figuring out ways that you can showcase that expertise either with in-person interaction or, we'll get to this in a little bit, but on social media through blogging and posting, thoughtful posts that have to do with what your expertise is and being able to showcase that leadership.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with that. And I know that it's really hard to get started. One of the things that I always talk about when I work with business owners, especially talking about promoting yourself, is that consistency is really just the key. So
Yeah.
making sure if you decide that you're going to do something weekly, you do it every single week. If you decide to do something monthly, do it monthly. And don't be discouraged. It does take a while for things to catch on. So when you're just starting out, just keep going and keep interacting with people who are commenting on your posts and just anyone that's willing to support you. Just keep going, and eventually it will catch on and it'll become a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I think
faster.
Oftentimes you don't even know who's watching, right? So they may not like or they may not comment, but there are people who are noticing what you're doing. So I absolutely agree, consistency is key. And one other tip that I like to give to my clients when working with them is thinking about different categories that you have an expertise in, and or that you enjoy, or or attributes that are related to you, and then that helps you to craft your messaging once a week, and not kind of put the same thing over and over again. But if you think about different buckets that you can, really produce content in that are related to you or your expertise, that's helpful for that consistency.
Yeah, no, of course. I think that's great advice. So on to just following up with that, is part of becoming a thought leader is promoting yourself and your business on social media. What advice do you have for women on making the most of popular social channels?
So I think 100% what you just said, consistency is key. I also think it's really helpful to follow other people. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find those people that you are aspiring to be like. You want to be your unique self, but it really does help to see what other people are doing. So that could mean your competitors. It could mean influencers. It could mean thought leaders in the space that you are trying to excel in. And it could be thought leaders in spaces that are completely different from you. But I get some of my best ideas on content just by seeing what other people are doing. So I think that's really helpful.
Do you have any thoughts in terms of like promotion on social media, in terms of paid promotion versus organic?
Yeah, I am not. I mean, if you have a huge budget, Facebook allows you to really target and be very specific. So if you have a very specific demographic that you're going after, it can't hurt. What's great is that you can start with a small budget and really test. I have to say, I do mainly things that are more just organic and social, not doing paid. And I think that if you're strategic about the content you're posting and how you are interacting with others out there, it can be just as effective as paid advertising, if not more. And that means kind of trying to test your content and or advertising in multiple channels, right? So depending on who your demographic is, again, like, Instagram, I think is great if you are trying to reach women business owners, moms, and maybe skews a little bit younger than like a Facebook, which might skew a little bit older. But again, testing and putting your stuff out there on multiple platforms until you really get a handle on who your audience is and who is engaging with you where is definitely recommended as well.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is that you don't have to be everywhere. So I think once you have figured out those one or two platforms, I recommend focusing on those as opposed to making yourself crazy trying to be everywhere to everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna add that as well, and then also keeping the interaction going. So making sure that you're commenting and responding to everybody that comments on your posts. You talk about following other people. Making sure that you actually go and follow your not only your competitors but people. The women entrepreneur world is so supportive. Like making sure that you follow people who you want to support. Make sure that you show them your support by commenting on their posts and sharing their posts, and they'll do the same back for you, and that helps your channel.
I think sometimes we forget, like in the online world or in these social platforms, that it's still relationships that you're building, and it's a two-way street. So just like you and I being in a room together, if you say something, you expect me to respond or, to engage. It's the same in the online world as well. And I think it's super effective to build relationships. I mean, I've written a blog post about this, but like so many opportunities have come as a result of Instagram. So, speaking opportunities, speaking at a conference or interviews for my blog, or people purchasing my boot camps and coaching packages, all as a result of relationships that have been built right on Instagram, which is crazy.
So this leads into my next question really well, which is social media is just one form of getting your name and brand out there. But networking is also really important for women business owners and actually a place where women business owners tend to struggle. What tips do you have for them to make the most of not only in-person networking events, but online networking events as well?
So one of my big things with networking is really making the effort to get out there and do in-person interactions, because it's so easy for us to hide behind our computers and our phones. And even if your business it has a national focus, or you're in the corporate world, there is nothing like the in-person interactions that you can make. So I really try to encourage people to attend at least 2 events a month that are any kind of form of networking where you're actually getting out of there, out of your office, and interacting with people. And I think that you never know who you don't know until you go out and try to do that. So that's kind of my soapbox on networking as far as like getting out and the in-person interaction. And I think when you are out, regardless of where you are, you really want to practice. One of the things I really encourage, particularly with women, is practicing that elevator pitch, and standing in front of the mirror and really looking at how succinctly, how animated, and how confident you can be in that elevator pitch, in the value that you bring to the table, in saying what your business is or what you do. And I think that's just as important online as it is offline. So online, figuring out those people you can follow, that you can comment on, that you can engage with, making sure that your profiles are succinct and they really stand out, so that somebody does want to follow you and or engage with you online as well.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, can you just give a little bit more depth into finding the right communities? I often find that that's the hardest part, is even knowing where to start looking
Yeah.
for, similar people to connect with.
So for the offline world, as far as like in person, Eventbrite and Meetup are great places to start, because they're just event platforms where you can kind of go on and see where people are hosting different events. The Chamber of Commerce, like in your local city, is another great opportunity where they'll host a lot of events. And then finding different influencers in your industry that are local. So finding people who are hosting events, or who are all about connecting people, or who are all about the area of expertise or your industry, and following them to know where their next big event is. So in my city of Bethesda, I host a monthly meetup for women entrepreneurs. And really that goal is to bring women together, bring different experts in to educate them on running their business. And I really try to hold true to that once a month meetup, so that, again, it encourages women business owners to get out and meet in person. And then I think online, there are so many communities. It's like oversaturated. So figuring out the right ones for you, right? So there are so many Facebook groups that are really geared towards everything thif days. So searching in Facebook to find the groups that are relevant to your industry or the skill set that you are trying to develop. So if you're a female entrepreneur, there's like a million Facebook groups out there. I have a mompreneur tribe for mom entrepreneurs. And you want to find a group where you can connect and you can learn. So ideally, there are different educational components that are like happening in this group, and also a support community that's developed. So like what I love in my group is people will post like, have you ever, who's the email newsletter provider that you like using? And all these people will, comment with their responses. Or I'm having this challenge in my business, and people will chime in. And so that is a true sense of community, right? When it's multiple people that are coming together to give each other ideas and support.
Thank you. So we're up to question 5, which is the last question of the day. And I know that there were a few questions in the comments, and we'll respond to that on social media directly. So everything that we've talked about today involves, in some cases, a lot of time and energy. And women in general have a lot going on, even if you don't own a business, especially the mompreneurs out there. So what tips do you have for women to be more efficient with their time?
You're soon going to see adding that mom element adds a whole other component. So I think that scheduling is everything. So, well, writing to-do lists and actually sticking to them. The sticking to them is the hard part for me sometimes. And then also scheduling in. So I try to, in my calendar, schedule my workouts. Otherwise, they don't happen. It's just like a meeting to me that it has to happen, and I don't schedule anything in them. And also scheduling in, for me, I wear a bunch of different hats like most people do. So scheduling in time for each of those hats, whether it's my, Kidville brick and mortar business, or it's my online business, or it's the coaching clients. And even the Pomodoro technique is very popular. Ariel, you and I talked about this, but, scheduling there, you can even, put a timer on to force yourself to schedule a specific amount of time for different topics.
Well,
and also, sorry, giving yourself a break and not trying not to eat that guilt like too much. I think it's like we have to give ourselves a break and know that not everything can be done immediately. And so if we manage our own expectations, it makes it a little bit easier.
of course. So before we end this session, is there any last minute advice you want to add?
No, I think that education is key. So watching Facebook Lives and following people who are giving good tips and reading books, I think are all great ways to continue to kind of broaden yourself and your expertise.
Great. Well, thank you, Anjali, so much for giving us your time and your expertise. For those of you watching the replay, feel free to ask questions in the comments. Anjali and I will both be checking in to make sure that your questions get answered. If you want to get in touch with Anjali directly, you can find her on all social channels at Anjali Varma. And if you like today's 5 questions and want to learn more, you can follow On Deck or whatever other terminology is being used at On Deck Capital, or you can visit On Deck's Resource Center at ondeck.com/resources. I just want to say thank you again for joining us here today. I hope you all have the greatest of International Women's Days, and we look forward to seeing you at future On Deck 5 questions.
Thanks so much for having me.